Here are the perfect answers to 3 common interview questions. What's up, everybody? It's Josh at Home at 30, and today I wanted to go over some essentials of the interview process. Going into the interview process can be pretty stressful, so I want to arm you with some great answers that you can use in your interviews as a baseline going forward to make you more successful. So question number 1 that I'll be going over is not really a question, but most interviews open up with the interviewer saying, "Tell me about yourself." When you're interviewing for your first job, not much will be known about you. Basically, all they'll know is what they can see on your resume. So tell me about yourself, and answering that statement, I guess, is your chance to introduce yourself to the interviewer, let them know who you are and what you're all about. So your response will have 3 parts: your education, your skills and experience, and your goals. You'll address each one of these things in order. The answer to this question sets the tone for the rest of the interview, and the goal of the interview is to make you look like the best candidate possible. Now, before I get into the nuts and bolts, here are some guidelines. Your answer to this question, "Tell me about yourself," should be no more than 2.5 minutes. Nobody wants to hear someone talk on and on about themselves forever, okay? Keep it to 2.5 minutes. It keeps your interviewer engaged, which is extremely beneficial for the interview. You want it to be as much like a conversation as possible. Secondly, everything you say should be relevant to the job you're interviewing for. Everything you say should be relevant to the job you're interviewing for. As I said earlier, your answer will start off with your education. Start off with your college major, maybe why you took that major, what made you interested in it, and what you've learned since majoring in that subject. This should probably take around a minute. Next, talk about one of your more impressive accomplishments, internships, experiences, etc. Now, this is a great time to highlight your leadership skills. Sell yourself as a great fit for the job by keying in on things that line up with the job description. This part should also take about a minute. As a general hint, the things that you mention here should probably be on the top of your resume, so don't go into too much detail. They will cover it later. Finish off your answer by talking about your goals. Talk about why you find the job interesting, why it's such a good fit for you, and the characteristics and skills that you have that will make you successful in the role. At the end, make sure you mention how you plan to continue learning and growing with the company. This last part should take about 30 seconds. To recap the perfect answer for the "Tell me about yourself" question, use 2 minutes and 30 seconds to tell your interviewer about your education, your skills and accomplishments, and your goals. And remember, everything you say should be relevant to the job you're interviewing for. Question number 2, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? Now, most people hate this question because we're not fortune tellers. How are you supposed to answer this question without sounding overambitious, naive, or completely clueless? Do you shoot for CEO to show you have ambition? Do you go off the deep end and tell them that time is just a human construct? Do you go that route? But to their credit, interviewers ask this question for a couple reasons. Number 1, they want to know if this is a job you actually care about. Number 2, they want to know how much you already understand about the company and the industry. If this is something that is just a convenient job interview for you, you probably haven't done a lot of research into the typical career progression at this company or in the industry, which means you'll probably end up saying general things that sound overzealous or foolish. To prepare yourself for this question, you want to know how the company works and how they fit into their industry, the typical career path for someone starting off in the role you'll be applying for, the length of time it takes to get to each level, and the things that you're good at and how those align with future jobs down the road. A great answer will show confidence in your abilities while showing off your preparedness and knowledge. For example, start off by talking about the skills and interests that make you a good fit for the role. Then talk about things you'll learn to prepare you for the next level. Do that probably one more time, and then talk about why you're so interested in the position you'll hold in 10 years and how you plan to succeed. If you've done your homework, you'll be sure to impress the interviewer. The third and final question I'm going over today is, do you have questions for me? And let me be clear about this. I don't care what the situation is or what's happened, you should always have questions for the interviewer. Since an interview is a two-way street, the best interviewers know that it's a conversation between two sides that need to learn about each other. And good interviewers want to give you time to take control. For my interviews, I always had at least 5 questions lined up that I could ask the interviewer at the end. Some of them were always covered during the normal part of the interview, which is fine. and I just mentioned that a couple of my questions had already been answered. Perfectly normal. If you don't ask questions, it seems like you're not interested in the job at worst, or you're just not prepared for the interview at best. Not good options. Have some questions. Show that you've done some research and that you actually know what you're talking about, okay? Here are a couple examples of questions that I like to ask. Performance evaluation. How will your performance be measured? Who will you report to? How often will you be reviewed? Ask them how they would describe their company culture. How does it compare to their competitors? You'll get a sense for culture in the interview. Are you clicking with the person or not? Is it a terribly difficult conversation or is it flowing? It might not seem important yet, but culture is a very important thing for a company. Culture can go a long way in determining your happiness and your success at a role, so make sure you understand that going in. What are the biggest challenges that people in this role typically face? This will help you get a much better overall understanding of the role that you're applying for. How is their industry changing, and how is the company preparing for that change? If you've done your research here, your interviewer should have a lot of things to talk about, and you can really impress them if you can engage them on this platform and have a great discussion here. And my personal favorite question is, do you have any reservations about my ability to succeed in this role? Now, lots of people shy away from this question, but I kid you not, after interviewing with probably 20 different companies during my first job search, the first time I asked this question to a company, they hired me. That was the company that hired me. I love this approach because interviewers, when they leave, they interview a lot of different people, right? So they get together, they look at their notes, because it's often multiple people doing this. They look at their notes and they find reasons why they shouldn't hire you. If you ask this question, you can alleviate their concerns right on the spot, helping you erase all doubts in their mind about why you're the perfect candidate for the role. All right, folks, those are my perfect answers to 3 common interview questions. If there's a question you'd like me to answer, put it in the comments and I'll get to it. Josh at home at 30. I'll see you guys soon.